In an infinite universe, there are places that defy human comprehension, dark corners where reality unravels and the impossible becomes tangible. This is the story of a group of explorers who, in their search for a new home for humanity, found something they were never meant to discover. A garden that does not belong to this world, a place where shadows have a life of their own. Chapter 1: The Mission of the Horizon. In the year 2347, humanity had exhausted Earth's resources. Exploration ships were sent to the far reaches of the universe in search of a new habitable planet. One of these ships, the Horizon, was commanded by Captain Ilara Voss, a seasoned space explorer with an impeccable reputation. The Horizon traveled for years, visiting distant star systems and inhospitable planets. But in 2352, when the ship entered a region of space known as the Nebulous Abyss, everything changed. The Nebulous Abyss was a zone of dense cosmic gas and dust, where stars were barely visible and communication with Earth became impossible. It was in the heart of the Nebulous Abyss that the Horizon detected an anomaly. Amidst the darkness, there was a planet. It appeared on no star charts, and its readings were inconsistent. The atmosphere was breathable, and the surface was covered in dense, strange vegetation. Captain Voss decided to land and investigate. What they found defied all logic. The planet, which they named Erythea, was a place of surreal beauty. The trees were tall and slender, their leaves glowing with a faint, pulsating light. The air carried a sweet, intoxicating scent, and the ground was covered in soft black grass that seemed to shift beneath their feet. But the most astonishing thing was the garden. At the center of a vast open plain, there stood a garden, not like any garden known to man, but something more organic. The plants had shapes that followed no biological logic, with twisted stems and flowers made of a translucent, gelatinous substance. And at the garden's heart, there was a fountain, not of water, but of something dark and viscous, endlessly flowing, emitting a low, constant hum. The crew of the Horizon began exploring the garden, fascinated by its beauty and strangeness. But soon they noticed things they couldn't explain. The shadows of the trees seemed to move on their own, as if alive. The hum of the fountain grew louder the closer they got, and they began to hear whispers. Not words, but sounds that resonated in their minds, as if something were speaking directly to their souls. One of the explorers, biologist Dr. Cale Marrow, was the first to succumb to the whispers. He began speaking in a language no one understood, then wandered deeper into the garden, disappearing among the twisted plants. The rest of the crew searched for him but found only his lab coat, covered in a black, viscous substance. Captain Voss ordered the crew to return to the ship, but that was when the shadows came to life. The tree shadows detached from the ground and began moving toward them, taking on humanoid but grotesque shapes. The crew fled, but they couldn't escape. One by one, the shadows overtook them, enveloping them in a darkness that seemed to consume them whole. The Horizon lifted off from Erythea, but it never returned to Earth. Months later, it was found adrift in space, its crew missing. The ship's logs revealed the crew's final moments. Screams, whispers, and a voice that was not human, speaking in an incomprehensible language. Inside the ship they found something else. In the cargo hold there was a plant. Not like those on Erythea, but smaller, subtler. Yet it had the same faint, pulsating glow and emitted the same low, constant hum. And in the shadows of the hold, something stirred. The Horizon was quarantined at a distant space station, but the plant was not destroyed. Scientists who examined it were fascinated by its unique properties. The plant seemed to possess its own intelligence, responding to stimuli in ways that defied biological understanding. Soon they noticed the station's shadows behaving strangely, moving independently, taking on unsettling forms. Obsessed with their discovery, the scientists began experimenting with the plant. They cultivated it in different environments, watching as it grew and adapted. But with each new sprout, the whispers grew louder. The scientists began experiencing visions, nightmares of the garden on Erythea expanding, consuming entire planets, turning them into extensions of itself. One scientist, Dr. Linnea Hart, was the first to recognize the danger. She tried to destroy the plant, but it was too late. The shadows on the station came alive, enveloping the scientists and turning them into extensions of the garden. Dr. Hart managed to send a warning to Earth before she was consumed, but her message was ignored. On Earth, things began to change. In the cities, the shadows seemed darker, thicker. People reported visions of a dark garden and whispers echoing in their minds. Plants in parks and gardens began growing abnormally, twisting into unnatural shapes and emitting a faint, pulsating glow. World governments tried to contain the spread, but it was futile. The shadows spread everywhere, turning people into extensions of the garden. Cities were abandoned as humanity retreated into underground bunkers, but even there, the whispers followed. In an underground bunker beneath what was once New York, a group of survivors struggles to resist. They've sealed every entrance, but the shadows seep through the smallest cracks. The whispers are constant, a reminder that there is no escape. Among the survivors is Captain Ilara Voss, the only member of the Horizon crew to escape Erythea. She knows the truth. The garden is not just a place. It is a living entity, a conscious being that seeks to expand and consume everything in its path. And now it is here on Earth. The Garden of Shadows has reached Earth, and there is no stopping it. The shadows spread everywhere, turning people into extensions of itself. The whispers are unrelenting, a reminder that escape is impossible. And deep in the bunker, Captain Voss knows the end is near. But perhaps, just perhaps, there is a way to fight back. A way to return the garden to the stars from which it came. To do so, they must venture into the heart of the garden and face the entity that controls it. And perhaps, just perhaps, that is the true horror. This expanded and developed story is designed for narration in a Horror Channel video, complete with eerie sound effects, dark visuals, and an atmosphere of mounting dread. Visual elements, such as images of Erythea, the garden, the shadows, and the garden spread on Earth, can heighten the story's impact,